Every year, the US spends over $800 billion on education, but despite that massive investment, we're seeing a shocking rise in teacher burnout, student dropouts, and students turning to platforms like TikTok and YouTube for learning instead of school. So why aren't things improving? If YouTube and TikTok are able to make learning fun, engaging, and interactive, why is it that schools are still stuck with outdated methods? Why are students frustrated, bored, and failing? The truth is that the US education system isn't broken, it was designed this way, and that's the real issue. It's time to dig into why schools are failing, and why no one seems to be doing anything about it. In this video, we'll break down how the system is failing teachers and students, why education hasn't changed despite overwhelming evidence that it's no longer working, and why the future of education might not be in schools at all. Let's dive into it.
The education system we have today wasn't designed to promote creativity, critical thinking, or problem solving. It was created during the Industrial Revolution to produce a specific type of worker. Back then, factories needed employees who could follow instructions, adhere to a schedule, and perform repetitive tasks all day long. Schools were built to create that workforce. At the time, the system worked. It served the purpose of providing factories with people who could work efficiently, follow orders, and keep the industrial machinery running smoothly. But the world is no longer dominated by factories. The economy is now driven by technology, entrepreneurship, and creative industries. And yet, schools are still stuck in this outdated model. Think about it. Kids today aren't preparing for factory jobs. They need skills like critical thinking, creativity, and the ability to adapt to change. These are the skills that will help them thrive in a world that's constantly evolving. But instead of focusing on those skills, schools are still designed to churn out students who can memorize information, take tests, and follow orders, just like workers on an assembly line. The real question is, why hasn't the system evolved? Why are we still relying on a model that was built for a different time when the needs of the workforce are so different now? The truth is, the system hasn't changed because it wasn't built to encourage creativity or innovation. It was built to produce workers, not thinkers. And while the world has changed, schools have remained the same. Despite spending more on education than almost any other country, the US is falling behind in global education rankings. The numbers speak for themselves. In math, we rank 36th globally, and in reading, we're 13th. These rankings are a clear indicator that the system isn't working as it should. Standardized testing was intended to measure academic progress, but its impact has become a source of stress and anxiety for both students and teachers. With schools judged by test scores, classroom learning often shifts away from developing critical thinking skills and toward teaching for the test. For many students, standardized tests don't reflect their true abilities, especially those who excel through hands-on projects or creative problem solving. The pressure to perform can negatively affect students' confidence and limit their potential, raising concerns about how these assessments shape long-term academic and career paths. The intense focus on testing can also lead to test anxiety, which affects cognitive performance and emotional well-being. Students may feel defined by their scores, which can impact their self-esteem and motivation. Moreover, the emphasis on standardized testing often narrows the curriculum, reducing time for creative subjects like art, music, and physical education. This not only limits students' exposure to diverse learning experiences, but also overlooks essential skills such as critical thinking, collaboration, and problem solving. The long-term effects of this approach can be seen in the workforce, where employers increasingly value adaptability and innovation, skills that are difficult to measure with standardized tests. While testing can provide valuable data for measuring progress, relying too heavily on test scores can create a narrow definition of success. This approach may leave students feeling unprepared for the real world, where success is often determined by creativity, communication, and the ability to think outside the box. The challenge is finding a balance, using assessments to measure progress without stifling the skills that truly matter in today's world. Let's talk about one of the most concerning issues that no one seems to want to address. Over 44% of teachers report feeling burned out, with nearly 1 in 4 considering leaving the profession. Overcrowded classrooms and limited resources make it difficult for teachers to provide personalized support,
contributing to rising dropout rates in the US. Every year, over 1.2 million students drop out of high school. That's one student every 26 seconds. Let that sink in for a moment. For parents, this raises a critical concern. Are their children receiving the support they need to succeed in both academics and life? The strain on educators and the growing number of students who feel disconnected from their education pose long-term risks that can impact career opportunities, mental health, and overall well-being. But here's the reality. This isn't just about the dropout rates. Even for the students who do graduate, many aren't actually prepared for life after school. A staggering 40% of high school graduates report that they don't feel ready for the real world. And when we think about it, why should they feel prepared? The school system doesn't teach the life skills they need. School doesn't teach kids how to manage their finances, how to navigate the world of work, or how to communicate effectively in a professional setting. So, when these students graduate, they're left to figure it all out on their own. And for many, that leads to confusion, debt, struggle, and anxiety. How are we preparing kids for life if we're not even giving them the tools to succeed in the world outside of the classroom? But the sad truth is that nobody seems to be addressing the root causes. Students are leaving because they're not engaged. Teachers are quitting because they're overwhelmed by a broken system. And schools continue to push the same methods, hoping for different results, even though we all know that what we're doing isn't working. Ask any student where they feel they're learning the most, and you'll probably hear the answer, YouTube or TikTok. While it might sound surprising, these platforms have become essential learning tools for today's generation. Over 70% of Gen Z uses YouTube to learn new skills, and 67% say that school is boring. Unlike traditional classrooms, these platforms deliver fast, engaging, and visually rich content that feels more relevant to real life. Instead of dry lectures and outdated textbooks, YouTube and TikTok break down complex concepts into bite-sized lessons that are easy to digest. On YouTube, students can access tutorials with clear visuals, relatable examples, and even humor. On TikTok, short-form videos cover everything from science and math to personal finance and history, delivered in a format that captures attention and keeps learners engaged. But the speed and accessibility of these platforms also come with risks: misinformation, distractions, and shorter attention spans. The challenge is that not all content is accurate or reliable. Algorithms prioritize what's engaging, not necessarily what's true, making it easy for students to encounter misinformation. And with fast-paced content designed to capture attention in seconds, students may find it harder to focus in traditional classroom settings. So, if students are learning more from YouTube and TikTok than from school, why hasn't the school system adapted? Why hasn't the education system evolved to embrace the engaging, interactive methods that are clearly working? The answer is simple. The system is too slow to change. Schools are still relying on outdated methods that don't cater to the way today's students learn. In a world that's changing rapidly, this system is no longer serving its purpose, and the students know it. Imagine a school system where students are given the tools to succeed in real life, where they're not just sitting through boring lectures, but actively involved in their learning. Schools should be teaching practical skills like personal finance, communication, job readiness, and even entrepreneurship. These are the skills that students need to excel in today's world. After all, what's the point of graduating with a diploma if you have no idea how to manage your money, write a professional email, or land your first job? The future of education is not in outdated textbooks and one-size-fits-all curriculums. It's in personalized, real-world learning experiences that prepare students to tackle the challenges of the modern world. Whether it's teaching financial literacy, problem-solving, or teamwork, education should be about preparing students for life, not just tests. Here's the real question. Should schools be teaching financial literacy, entrepreneurship, or other essential life skills? What do you wish you had learned in school that would have helped you more in life? Drop a comment below and let us know. And if you agree that schools need to prepare students for life, not just for exams, hit like and share this video so that more people can join the conversation. It's time to change the system for the better.